Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. We are once again at the legendary Drama Bookshop on West 39th Street, and my guest is performer, activist, and filmmaker Amber Iman. You know her from such musicals as Hamilton, Soul Doctor, and Shuffle Along. And her latest project is An Evening with Amber Iman, which is currently streaming on Audible Originals. I'm so excited to be sitting with you here at the Drama Bookshop.
Thank you for having me. This is lovely.
How excited are you about your new project that you have, An Evening with Amber Iman?
You know, it was a labor of love, but it was a labor. I think when did we record this? This was back in April. So it was, and I think I didn't find out about it until maybe January. I had a very short amount of time to kind of decide what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And I've done one-woman shows for years, but an opportunity like this, like for the Audible audience, you know, which is like around the world, was kind of crazy, to be honest. Like I honestly couldn't think about the fact that it was for Audible. I was like, this is just every other time I do a one-woman show. I'm just telling my story, sharing where I am in my life at this point, but knowing that millions of people could hear it. So it was kind of crazy, but I was so excited for the opportunity just to share. I'm always trying to, the work I do is for Black women. And it's to let Black women know that you belong in this space and you should take up as much space as possible. And, you know, I am not there yet in my career. I don't have all the Tonys and accolades and things, but I'm still here and I'm still taking up space and my voice still matters. And so that's honestly why I did the Audible show, was just to be like, I want a young Black girl who looks like me, who's in my age range, who is still hustling and climbing, to be like, oh, I can do what Amber's doing because she's out here doing it. So that's, the Audible show was a love letter to Black women.
Yeah, because how did this all come about? I mean, everybody wants to do one of these.
I know. The phone rang. My agents are wonderful people. And I think because I have done these before, I've done it at 54 Below, and I've done it at the Triad, I've done it in California, I've done it in Philly. And I try to do something new every time because I'm in a different place in my life every time. I don't want to talk about stuff from 2004 and 2022. And so I think people enjoy my shows. They come and they have a good time. They feel seen, and they know that there will be foolishness along with good songs and good stories. And I think I was just on the radar at the right time. So
let's talk about some of the songs that you do in the show. Tell our audience.
So I always say I'm slightly allergic to musical theater. Yes, I have a degree in it, but I just believe there are so many wonderful, amazingly beautiful songs that are soul and R&B and funk and jazz, the music that I grew up on. So I have to do a little Anita Baker because, I mean, she's home for me. I have to do Sweet Love because that's my favorite karaoke song. I do a Black girl mashup of songs by some of my favorite Black women. There's Erykah Badu and Jill Scott and Solange in there because that's the music that speaks to me. What else do I sing in? Oh, I have to do I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. That's become like my like trick. It's like I pull it out of my back pocket at this point, but it brings me so much joy. So yeah, it's just songs that I love, songs that bring me joy, that I hope audiences love and add to their like catalog of songs that bring them joy too. And I do a little bit of musical theater just because, you know, you have to do it.
I love that a little bit.
Why not? Give them what they want, I guess.
Yeah. But you know, it's so beautifully structured, and they're hard to do. One-person shows, but there's some people who just grasp that right away, and they're like, wow, I just do it.
I always joke, I never love it. And it's only because, like, it's a great undertaking, and it's just you. And, you know, I write them myself. I put everything together myself. I usually see my band the weekend before, and we kind of do one big rehearsal because, you know, I play with like jam musicians who just, they know how to do it. I'm gonna put it in this key, y'all. I might take it around. I might go back to the bridge. They follow me. I follow them. We're having a great communication on the stage. Michael O. Mitchell is my MD of all MDs. He and I speak the same musical language. Yeah. We come from the church and R&B and jazz, and it just makes sense to me to work with him. So it's a lot of work. And this show, honestly, Audible was the first time that I could kind of take a breath because Audible handled so much of the like marketing and social media, and like that was a blessing as an artist to have a machine behind you being like, don't worry about photos, don't worry about social media. I was like, oh my God, it was Audible really like allowed me to just be the artist. And that's the first time I've been able to say that in the 5-6 years I've been doing these shows. So while it was a huge undertaking, I did have such a great and amazing support system to help me get this baby off the page and onto the stage. So
you were like, just let me put the show together and do it,
and
right?
I love that they trusted me and they didn't try to censor me or ask me to, you know, like I still had to let them know what songs because we had to get things clear. But other than that, like they were like, you do you. Like we invited you here because we trust you and your brand and your messaging. And that was really, really a breath of fresh air.
Okay, what I think is really exciting about this is this will now reach millions of fans around the world, right?
Crazy! Like sometimes I look at like the comments, there's people in like Switzerland, and I'm like, that's lovely that they're listening to me in Paris eating croissant. I love that.
Eating a croissant, or is there a place called Croissant?
There's both. It really excites me just to know that like something I came up with in my living room is literally in someone else's living room in Switzerland. Like that just blows my mind. The power of like social media and technology. It really is amazing to me.
Yeah. You talk about so many incredible things in the show too, but I want to focus on two things right away. You are a founding member of the Broadway Advocacy Coalition and Black Women on Broadway.
Yes.
Talk about how important those two organizations mean to you.
Just all of my work, it's always my goal is to help those who are underserved, who feel like their voices aren't being heard, who aren't seen, heard, and affirmed. Like I just want to provide space for us to come together and change some stuff, shake the tables. BAC, wow, we started, I think, in 2016 while I was doing Shuffle Along with Adrian Warren and Britton Smith. And it was born out of frustration at a time when we just felt like people were being killed and we didn't hear enough from the Broadway community. And I think we were really invested in being the change that we wanted to see. And that's the same thing that happened with Black Women on Broadway. It's like the number of times I get calls from casting directors who need to cast Black women and don't know any blows my mind because that's your job, not mine. And I said, well, let's put a digital platform. It was just supposed to be like a digital platform in the beginning so that people could come to a place and be like, oh, there are Black scenic designers, there are Black female lighting designers. I didn't know any before I started this platform, and now I can run down a list. So that work is important because representation matters, because I can't know where I'm going if I don't know where I'm coming from. So it is important to me to know those whose shoulders I stand on. And with BAC, it's just like we are fighting for radical change, for justice, for our faces and our voices to be seen and heard. And I mean, it's just time to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The old way, we've done that. Why not try something new, like in all areas?
I love that. Debuts are really important because there are so many people trying to find their way into the business.
Absolutely.
And I want to start with your off-Broadway debut, which of course was in Rent. You were Seasons of Love.
I was.
Soloist. Is that her character name?
Yes, it is. Seasons of Love solo. I called it the Keeper of the High C because I had to sing that thing many, many times. My goodness, wow.
Favorite memories of doing that and singing that song?
Oh, wow. Favorite memories of Rent. I moved to New York in January of 2012, and I believe I started Rent in like May. So just still getting lost on the A train trying to get to work. Like, I just remember being just so young and so green, but blessed to do a show that like changed the face of Broadway. Like it was crazy to me that Rent was my first show, and to sing that song every night. I have so many fond memories of being in the shower at New World Stages, because at every intermission, I was like, Lord, I got to see if the C is there. And just, I would sing the C and then the D above, just to make sure I had all the notes around the C, just in case I needed to go left or right. Just that show. The cast, Nicholas Christopher. There were so many people in that show who now are from Sykes. Everyone who did that show went on to do amazing, brilliant things. That's how I met Brandon Victor Dixon. That's how I met Tamika Sonia Lawrence. Like, it was an amazing cast, and it was an amazing time in my life. And I just think of young Amber with $5 trying to get a slice of pizza and get to work. Wow, that was a crazy time. That's 10 years ago. Wow. Sheesh!
So you warmed up in the showers at New World Stages.
Sure did.
I'm sure a lot of people have done that since then. Or they're going to do it now when they're playing.
Listen,
they're like, I'm running to the shower.
When you just need a place to hear yourself and have some peace and quiet, perfect. Showers, bathroom showers, great. All the time.
Okay, you made your Broadway debut.
On the same street.
On the same street.
Circle
Soul
of the
Doctor,
Square, yes.
Nina Simone.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to give a lot away because your stories in your concert at Audible, I mean, how many callbacks did you have or auditions for Soul Doctor?
My agent said it was whatever the number is where we have to pay you, it was one less than that. So if it was 8 or 9, I was like, I think they have to bring me lunch at this point. Like this, we're on a first name basis. Like I know these people's children. Like this has been a lot of FaceTime. It was crazy. It was crazy how many times I went in for that show. But I guess it worked. My favorite memory about that is my director told me that he saw 217 women. And something about that just blew my mind because that was a year and a half after moving to New York. So my career, you know, for me, I felt like it took forever, but it was fairly quickly to be starring in a Broadway show that soon after moving to New York. But they saw a lot. I don't know why they chose me, but I'm so grateful. Well, it was a crazy process. It was.
So you
really
had a little more than $5 in a slice of pizza.
Just a little, $12 at that point.
And you knew how to maneuver the A train, right?
I didn't know how to get to the A train then, I did.
And you knew that street. You're like, I can get from New World stages to...
Oh, she's home for me.
She's home.
I love 50th.
I can move from New World stages to Circle in the Square, right, to Soul Doctor.
That was crazy for me.
But you tell an incredible story about your dance audition, which I don't want to give anything away, but that is hilarious.
Just having a fabulous French choreographer who did not believe in 8 counts. Like he didn't believe in like, okay, so we're starting glissade or something. He was like he just spoke in dance. But I had also never been in a solo dance call. I didn't know that was a thing. And to walk into a room and it's the whole creative team and just you and you can't mark.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. You can't drink water. You can't wipe sweat because
you can't go to the back of a line.
When I walked out of that room, I looked like Michael Phelps in the pool, like sweat drenched. And it was funny to look at all the faces of all the other women because they didn't know what the heck I had just been through. Yeah. And I walked in, I was like, break legs, everyone.
And they were like, what do they do to her in there?
And like, naturally you show up to a call like faces are beat. I just saw all these women throwing dresses, trying to find shorts and sports bras because it was not like anything we'd ever experienced. What a crazy
And get a water bottle to spray themselves down. Like, I'm already sweating. I've been working on this in the whole way.
Oh my God, that was one of my favorite moments. It's just, you never know what's going to happen in these rooms and you just have to be prepared and willing to just throw yourself out there and try.
Yeah.
And it pays off.
And you got it.
I booked it, so and then I always laugh because when I think about Soul Doctor, I don't even think I did any choreography. Like I don't think I even danced. God help us. Like,
but you know those French steps in your head, right?
I can do in any day. Never doesn't matter. Sleep, awake, upside down. I can do it.
I love that.
It's crazy.
Okay, Shuffle Along was one of my favorite shows. I loved everything about that show. I mean, your director, George C. Wolfe. I mean, talk about the company you were performing on stage with.
Someone called it the Black Legends Ball. My friend Griffin Matthews, because it was everyone who I ever wanted to work with at the same time. Brandon Victor Dixon, Joshua Henry, Stokes, Billy Porter, Adrian Warren, Felicia Boswell. It was an embarrassment of riches. Like, it was actually kind of crazy being in that room. And what I love most about George C. Wolfe is that man is a historian. He is an educator. Like, I used to get so upset because he would do scene work on a scene that I wasn't in and I'd still be called. And I'm like, I'm not in this scene. But George wanted you to know everything about the world you were in. He wanted you to know the temperature that it was. He wanted you to know what was going on in the news. And this year, he would bring newspaper articles. Like if it was August 1st, he would bring a newspaper from August 1st, 1921, so that you would know on this day, 80 some odd years ago, 100 years ago, this is what was happening in the world. So it was like, it was school. It felt like we were in college. It felt like we were, every day was a master class. I mean, Savion Glover and George C. Wolfe at the same time. You just would have a migraine just from all the knowledge that was getting poured into you. But I was also aware of how precious that moment was. And I knew that I would probably never get another moment like Shuffle Along in my life. Like that was in a bottle. That was a very precious moment in time to be in that room with those legends, learning and growing and pushing myself. Like I was like, I have to prove that I could be in this room because the amount of knowledge, the amount of experience, and the amount of love. Like, I learned how to be a leading lady watching Audra and Adrian. You know, I'm working on a show now, Goddess, and it's like I remember what I learned from those women, how to lead, how to listen, how to advocate, how to speak up and use my voice. So Shuffle Along was really just, I mean, it was like, it was college all over again.
Do you remember that first, the invited dress for Shuffle Along?
Blackout. I have no recollection. I remember terror and fear because there was a song in that show that got added like the day, like, I mean, we were, that show was changing and moving and changing.
Yeah.
And there were just things that I would step on that stage like, y'all, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know what's about to come out of my mouth on Broadway. Like, that's crazy. It's a different level of like intensity and just the stakes are very high, but you also feel just so blessed to have that kind of opportunity to like do something brand new on Broadway with that cast, with that support system. You just feel like I'll never get another moment like this in my life. Like I'll forever remember being in Shuffle Along. Yeah. Wow, crazy.
One of my favorite nights in the theater. You know, we have to talk about, you did the first national tour of a little musical called Hamilton.
I sure did. That was right after Shuffle Along, 2017.
Oh, you went from that into Hamilton?
Immediately, yes I did. It's crazy. My first audition.
What kind of angel sits on your shoulder?
A good one, yeah. The Lord. I literally, my first audition for Hamilton was a week after we closed. A week after Shuffle Along closed.
Who was your audition for?
It was for Angelica.
But I mean, who was Lynn in the room, or who were the people?
I love that you think I remember that. I don't.
Did you black that out?
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, you're just trying to remember all the words. Like I remember my final callback. I do remember that Kale was in there, and I do remember. I think. Was the music department in there? I'm gonna say everyone was in there, but I might
just
be
say
lying.
everybody was there.
Everyone was there.
Everybody was there.
Everyone was there. Yeah.
Okay, so talk about that callback. That final audition.
So, you know, fun fact for me is I was auditioning for Angelica up until my final callback, and then it got switched to Peggy Mariah the night before. I had less than 10 hours. And you have to understand, coming from Shuffle Along, I didn't know anything about Hamilton. They were the show down the street.
Yeah.
So and this is at a time when I like to create from scratch. So I don't want to go get the cast album. I don't want to watch a bootleg somewhere. Like, I just want to look at what's on the page, and I want to sight read it. Exactly. But when you have 10 hours to learn a lot of music, like, it's crazy because you want to be off book. You want to be comfortable in the room. So I remember that I did my Peggy audition with a lisp. With a lisp? I did. I did say, Daddy shed to be home by sundown. I did. I made choices, and I booked it. So
that is crazy.
Little known fact.
You made a choice. And you made a different choice.
And they loved it.
But you literally had all these auditions for Angelica, and you were like, I'm going back for a call back for her. They're like, no, we're switching you out.
At the last, I mean, the call came in probably 7 o'clock that night.
That is crazy stuff.
It was outrageous. It was outrageous.
So where was your sit down for Hamilton? Where were you?
We did 5 months in San Fran and 5 months in LA.
And so your first performance in San Francisco, like on those turntables, I'd love to ask.
Well, the great thing about it is we had the turntable at New 42. So I had been on a turntable for 2 months. What I do remember is it felt like a Justin Bieber concert. The first gung, 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 I have never heard people scream like that. Yeah. Like, you didn't know if they were being trampled, they were in danger, and we felt our clothes vibrate off of us. Yeah. That's how loud the screams are. I had never experienced anything like that in my life. It was crazy because it was the first time that Hamilton had been west of Chicago. Yeah. Like at that time, it was only Broadway and Chicago were the only companies. So everyone in California was coming to see us. The perks were out of control. Yeah. The people, like people were coming to the show bringing pies, cakes, people to the stage door. It was a great time. That was a great time, just to be out there with that big of a show. I had never been a part of a show that large that had taken the world by storm. It was insane.
Okay, I've spoken to so many people from Hamilton on Broadway and on the road. I always ask them this question. Okay. Did you ever go to the White Room?
Yeah, I did.
Tell people what the White Room is.
The White Room is when you're in the middle of a song and you go to say that next lyric and you have no clue. You don't know what the song is. You don't know where you are. You don't know what comes after the line you've forgotten. You're just out on space floating, and you
on the turntable.
On the turntable, and you just hope someone's gonna come and save you, and they don't. And the thing about Hamilton is it's all tracked. Like, you gotta go. And I just remember, I think it was a Mariah moment. It was in the middle of Say No to This, and I just was like a shimmer, hummer, shim, tum, it's just, and then I came right. It's crazy that we all have that story, but it happens. It happens, and you just have to keep moving.
But it's sort of a badge of honor because
Oh, it is.
I forget.
It is.
I forget who didn't have it. I think I was talking to Brandon Victor Dixon one day.
Oh, get out of here!
And he never had them.
Oh,
He never
Brandon Victor Dixon.
But then he got one.
Oh,
Then he had
knock on wood. See, that's why you can't talk about it, because then
He was like, my track record's really good. I don't have a white room moment. Then all of a sudden, like the next night, he had a white room moment.
He deserves. I love Brandon.
But the audience loves it too.
Oh, of course.
Because the people who know the show, like, oh my God, she just went up.
And then they go ahead and write articles about it and call you crazy. It's funny to me. It's funny because they feel like they're a part of something special and something that is different and fun, and we're back there losing our minds.
No, because people literally, like, I kept riding around on the turntable.
Yeah,
Richie
listen,
trying to.
you just gotta keep riding. That's like a life thing. You know what? When life gets hard, you just gotta keep riding the turntable. Eventually, you'll get back to where you started.
You'll catch up.
You'll catch up.
You know, you also made history as the first woman and person of color to perform on Broadway after the pandemic shutdown as part of the NY Pops Up Festival, and I was there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the Broadway Theater.
Wow.
And you welcomed audiences back to the Broadway theaters. How magical was that day, and what do you remember about that morning?
Terror.
Okay.
I remember, this is such a clear memory for me. I'm sitting in the tent, I've just taken my COVID test, and I went, if I have COVID, all of this stops. And for those 12 minutes, I thought a panic attack, cardiac arrest, because it was like my first COVID anything.
Yeah.
And they were telling me the numbers, like it's 250 people coming, it's 200 people in front of house. Like I'm watching ushers like hugging each other. They haven't seen each other in a year. It was the most beautiful moment. But in that moment, I was like, wait a minute, if I have COVID, there will be no show. And just the moment that my test came back negative, I was like, oh, holy Jesus, because I hadn't, like, I'm thinking about the songs. I'm thinking about the fact that I haven't sung in months. I'm thinking, do I have the stamina to do this? I'm thinking about the fact that I am doing my one-woman show on Broadway. I'm thinking about Whoopi Goldberg and all the other Black women who have done this, and how the opportunity, like when that call came, I thought it was a joke. I thought I was being punked. What do you mean you want me to do something I wrote on Broadway by myself? It was, I honestly, I don't think I've ever fully processed what it meant to do that. And taking Michael O. Mitchell, my favorite MD, and Crystal Monet Hall and Marcus Paul James, who I met doing Rent, who were my introduction to Broadway. Because if I get to go to Broadway, I'm bringing my people with me. It was one of the most life-changing, terrifying. It kind of just proved to me that I can do anything. But my goodness, I just wanted to do something good. Like I just wanted to see all those artists with the mask only seeing their eyebrow. Like that was my first time seeing people masked in a theater. And I knew that I knew them, but I couldn't see their faces.
Just eyes.
Just eyes. And at that time, everyone was like spaced apart. Like
we were
you
all
couldn't
spaced
see.
out.
It was like rows apart from me. And I just wanted to hug everyone. And so I hope that my music and my story was hugging them and that they could feel love. It just felt like the hugest undertaking, but a blessing. Like I was so grateful that I had that opportunity, and scared, but grateful.
What's next for you? You have some projects coming up.
I am. La Jolla was, we did La Jolla. La Jolla was Limpica. And then I did Goddess at Berkeley. I did 2 out-of-town tryouts back-to-back that overlapped. I don't know how I survived that.
Your angel said, now we're going to give you 2 out-of-towns.
Your
we're not giving you 50th Street. We're going to give you out-of-towns.
Being specific in your prayers, because I prayed for this, but I didn't pray for it all to happen at the same time. So to be a part of 2 amazing original musicals with teams that I love, it's an embarrassment of riches. Like I realized how fortunate, how favored, how blessed I am to be in this position. Goddess, a role that Jocelyn Biel was like, this is for you. And Limpica, which Matt Gould was like, I'm writing these songs for you. I'm very fortunate, and I'm very grateful to be, after being in New York for 10 years, keeper of the sea, from warming up in the showers to finally be in this position. It's wonderful.
Okay, it's holiday season. What are the holidays like for you?
Holidays for me as an only child. Like, if I get home on the 23rd, my mom picks me up from the airport and she's like, great, so we're going to get the tree. And I'm like, y'all didn't get it.
It should be decorated by now.
So holidays for me is work. I'm clocking in. I am
the
building.
23rd?
I'm building the Christmas village. Everyone, if you follow me on Instagram, you know my parents have a Christmas village that they make me put up with the trees, and I have to go find the fake snow. And I gripe about it, but I do love it.
Of
I
course you
do
do.
love that they can't do anything unless I'm there.
Yeah.
So, and it's also just going home. I'm an Atlanta baby. I'm from the South, and I just love to go back home, roll in the grass, be with my family. And that's what it's about. It's eating all the food, being with your family, and just like, I like to look back at the year and be like, whew, that was a year. Like this year I did Goddess, I did Limpika, I did the Audible show. Like you've accomplished so much, and then you get to look ahead at the next year and see all the things that you want to do in the new year. Like, it's a crazy time.
Yeah.
It's a time for reflection and reevaluation. And like, I have a gratitude jar that I keep. I like to take out, every time I do something, I'm like, I'm grateful for this moment. And I put it in a jar, and at the end of the year, I take it out and I look at all the things that moved me, that touched me, that I'm grateful for. And then I keep a jar of like things I want to manifest, and I take out the things that I've done. I'm like, oh, I forgot that I accomplished that. And I put new things in that jar for the new year. So it's really a time to like recalibrate, reevaluate, and then make my list of things that I want to accomplish in 2023.
Oh, I'm getting 2 jars for the new year.
To gratitude jar and your manifestation jar. It's
I
the
love
best
that.
thing. And then like anything that I accomplish, I take them out and I frame them.
Yeah.
So in my house, I just have every year, like, look at all the things I accomplished. Look at all the things that I was grateful for. It's a really great way to just kind of like, I'm a visual person, so if I can see it, then I can know what I'm working towards. I love it. Works
That's
for
great.
me.
Well, like I told you, we're sitting here at the Drama Bookshop.
Yes, we are.
There is an incredible vocal selection. The Drama Bookshop has every vocal score that is available to buy on here on the wall. I'd love to take you over there and see if there is a classic role or some roles you would like to take on.
I'm excited.
You want to head over to the wall?
Let's do it.
We're heading over to the vocal score wall.
This is fun.
So here we are at the songbook section and libretti here at Drama Bookshop. They have every vocal score and vocal selection that is available to get. So my question for you was, if you could pick anything from this wall, a role or two that you'd like to do, what are some of the roles you'd pick?
So like in college, I picked one classical and one contemporary. So I thought we'd start here with the Hello Dolly, because one of my favorite women in the world is Pearl Bailey.
Yes.
And her turn as Dolly, I mean, the gowns, her star power, a chocolate statuesque woman. You fall in love. I fell in love with Pearl Bailey during Hello Dolly. So I'd have to do it just so I could try to just have an ounce of her charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. And then
I love that's good. Oh, okay, fabulous.
if I pick my contemporary, Jason Robert Brown and this show, I mean, we all sang every song in college. But to do it now in like as a grown woman who really has an understanding, like there's some songs that I get now that, I thought I understood in college, but now I'm still hurting. Whew, yeah. That's
a go-to.
That's on my street.
This is one of my favorite scores too. Jason Robert Brown's the last 5 years.
Jason
But we have to go back to Pearl Bailey because, of course, I was brought up on the Carol Channing album, but my neighbors, they're great. But my neighbor had the Pearl Bailey album because David Merrick went back to record that, and it's brilliant. And the tempos are a little faster, and it's much brighter. And Pearl Bailey is genius on that, right?
She's Pearl Bailey. I mean, it's iconic. If you don't know that, you have to go listen to it right now. Find it. It's everywhere.
Or go to YouTube because she did Before the Parade Passes By on Ed Sullivan, which is pretty fabulous. Then you can fall into the Pearl Bailey on YouTube because there's some really, really incredible stuff.
That rabbit hole is long. You will just be there for hours.
Well, people have a lot of time during the holidays. So you'll be cooking during the holidays. You're building a Christmas village.
Yes,
You're getting the
tree. I'm
Christmas
doing all
tree.
the
So
things.
are there family, like heirloom things that go on the tree? Are there like...
Oh, yes. There's one that's like my first handprint. Like, it's my first Christmas. I'm the only child, so everything is about me, of course, logically. But I love pulling those ornaments out and just seeing that my family has that stuff like from 30 years ago. It's so great. I love parents. I love that they keep all our crazy thumbprints and macaroni things.
Hang them on a tree every year, right?
That's so sweet. God bless parents out there who do that. I love that.
Okay, finally, like I said, An Evening with Amber Iman is on Audible. It can just be, we used to call it downloading. Now it's called streaming, right?
It's streaming on the Audible. Yes, it is.
What do you hope audiences take away? Because they can watch this anywhere in the world. And like you said, there's a person in Croissant, France that
Yes.
watch you eating croissants. But I mean,
love this.
seriously,
I
but I
love
mean,
this.
there are people all around the world watching
This
this,
is
what it means to
true.
you.
Well, one of the theme of my show was joy. It was Amber's joy, and I think that especially the holidays, but year round, that we could all use a little bit more joy.
Yeah.
And so I hope when you finish listening to the show that you go and find something, do something, call someone who brings you joy. Even if it's just taking a walk, if it's someone you haven't spoken to in years, if it's a hobby that you've been meaning to start. It's just I feel like the world would be a much better place if we all center joy a little bit more. So I hope that you listen to it and then just go find something, do something that brings you a little bit of joy. It'll change your day. It could change your life.
Yeah. It's incredible. Thank you for dropping by with me for Broadway World here at the Drama Bookshop.
Thank you for having me, Richard. What a pleasure. This has been so much fun.
Take care, everyone, and we'll see you at Broadway World.